Lately, the number one question on the channel when I show pre-built computers is this: can an RTX 3060 fit inside of those and successfully play with no problems or upgrades of the power supply? Hey guys, welcome back to the HighWenSS channel. My name is Ivan and today we are going to answer your burning question is, can you get an RTX 3060 and without any problems install it in one of those pre-built computers from Dell or HP or any other one that actually physically can fit the graphics card inside? Now, a little background story. This RTX 3060 from EVGA, I submitted my name on the queue almost immediate when the card was released, and I was 17 minutes into the queue. Luckily, a week or so ago, I was finally sent a notification and I was able to purchase this card at MSRP straight from EVGA, which is a great thing. I think they are the only company that are currently doing the queue system where you can actually have a chance to purchase one of those cards at retail and not paying double, triple, or other crazy obscene amount of money for graphics card. That should be a lot cheaper anyway. Quick note right here. Performance-wise, the RTX 3060 is very equal and very compatible to my RTX 2070. They already have in one of those. The Asus Dual Mini, you guys seen that in my previous videos from last year. I still keep that card and it's still great. So if you have one of those, you might as well just skip the 3060 and don't bother. But if you don't, that's a valid buy, and actually pretty much any other manufacturer you can buy at MSRP. I don't advise anybody spending more money than retail, but that's your choice, of course. And if it can physically fit inside those cases, go ahead and buy it. Now, the power draw, a lot of people are asking, oh, what's the power draw? How is this 400 or 360 watt power supply going to be enough? Yes, it's going to be enough, guys. This card is rated 170 watts and I measured no more than 280 watts total while stressing with benchmarks, gaming, and everything else. And you guys are gonna see the results on your screen. You will see my kilowatt tool measuring while I am benchmarking and doing everything else. And you'll see that advised 550 watts from NVIDIA. It's a little bit an overkill because they are putting on the fine print that this is measured with i9 10900K, and we know how much power that CPU is drawing. And especially if you're overclocking it, it's even more. But in these pre-builds, when you have Ryzen 5 3600 or you have i5 10400F or 10400 or even 10700, these are 65 watt CPUs. The rest of the components don't draw too much power, and that graphics card with the whole system at the wall is draining no more than 280 watts. So you have quite a big span, especially with HP 400 watts. You have a lot of reserve. With Dell, it's 360 watts, the lower power supply, and you're gonna need one of those adapters to plug 6-pin to 8-pin. If they are not providing one, you might have to source one. But yes, it works. Yes, it is safe and it's not a problem. You still have a reserve about 80 watts above. Even if you decide to stress it as much as possible, you're never gonna pass 300 watts with this specific configuration, so you're not gonna have any problems. So let's go ahead and see how they look inside those boxes. We're gonna install them real quick. I'm gonna do a quick shifting so you can see how these cards look inside these cases, and I'm gonna show you some results with temperatures and of course FPS. First one is the HP TG01, and you see the card fits perfectly well, despite the fact that this case, the way they redesigned it, made it a little bit narrow, but still you have about an inch over the card where the side panel lays. The mounted 92mm fan right here blows directly down underneath the card, supplying it with some fresh air, which actually helps a lot with the cooling, not only the rest of the system, but the graphics card itself. So that's great. And let me remove this side panel real quick so you guys can see. There it is. We have the 8-pin power connector. Despite the fact that it's not on the side, ideally I prefer, especially in these cases, if the connector is on the side, would have been a little bit better. But you see we have a good about 3 inches distance between the front of the case and where the card starts. So this form factor is perfect. Slightly longer can also fit, but you have to play with the connectors of your secondary storage, of course, if you have a secondary storage right here, and kind of move them out of the way a little bit. But I think this is perfect because the card is not blocking the airflow that is actually coming and being delivered from the intake fan, because the intake fan blows right here and goes to the card and up above as well, where the cooler for the CPU is, memory and everything else. So it's not extending all the way, it's not blocking the airflow. Much better situation. That's why I really prefer these cards from EVGA. You've seen on my some of the older videos, I have a 2060 from them as well, which also is about the same length. By the way, this card has the metal backplate, which is fine, I guess. My initial target and desire was to get the cheaper one, the $329 one, which doesn't have a backplate, and I'm fine with that. But anyway, works and fits great. And after you install it, all you need to do is just put your side panel back on with a fan and connect it. That way, make sure everything works and you have a steady stream of cool air being delivered inside the case for your components. Nothing's on the way, intake fan is in place, you have enough clearance on the power supply, on the graphics card and everything else. So now we are going to move into the Dell G5. Now with the Dell G5, the installation is even easier because we have more space. We don't have that side panel. We don't have the top panel with the storage. So all we need to do is just grab the graphics card, put it on the slot, clip it back in. There's no bolts or anything. Close this up, and now we have the 6-pin to 8-pin already connected, and just plug it in. That is it. This is the whole installation. From here, we can just put the side panel on and off we go. It's the exact same installation on the XPS, same chassis, so you have plenty of room. So if you have a longer card, maybe 2 inches longer, you can still fit it and have a little bit more wiggle room here. And if it's taller, about 1/2 inch as well, you can have right before it touches the side panel. We have intake fan on top, but if we have mounted or modified to have another one in the back here, you have to measure the clearance and make sure these cables are not in the way, but that would be beneficial to get some air onto this graphics card the way it's done. And now we're gonna look at the older HP Pavilion 690. Now with the 690, things are slightly different in a very positive way, because you guys know I modified the 690 with the side plate. Now we have 2 intake 92mm fans. They're delivering a ton of air inside and making things very cool. But to install our new card, we just need to unscrew the holding screws here for the plate and just tilt it out of the way, and you can see the graphics card right in. Currently, this is my RTX 2070 from Asus. So all we need from here to do is just remove the 8-pin power connector, lift up the stopper on the back, and then reach down, unclip the stopper for the PCI Express slot, lift up the card out. And just like that, the RTX 2070 is out, and we're gonna place the RTX 3060 inside in the exact same way. Click it back in the slot, clips right in. It's exactly the same length as the RTX 2070. So all we need to do again is just plug in our 8-pin connector. And this is much easier with this case because the case itself is wider. So you have a little bit more room here on the top where the side panel comes on. And we clip the 8-pin PCI Express connector. That is it. All we need to do is put the side plate on, put our screws on, and put our side panel on. And that's it. We are done with installing it. It fits and it works perfectly well.
Weapons detected. All weapons will be locked until departure. All clear. Welcome, Sam Porter Bridges. Weapons restrictions lifted.
Finally, conclusion time. Yes, it's possible. RTX 3060 is possible to be installed on all these chassis, the HP, the Dell, the XPS. It's fully possible and achievable, of course, if you can find one and if you can buy one. I know at this point it's a little bit tricky finding one, especially if you don't want to spend a lot of money. And considering the performance of this card, realistically, you should not be spending a lot of money. This card does not deserve to be $329 if you're lucky, or $389 for this one that I paid. Definitely doesn't deserve to be that expensive. And if the situation was different currently, I think NVIDIA would have priced this one under $300, probably $275, which I think it's kind of like where it needs to be. But that's the situation. Can't beat the dead horse anymore. You guys know what's going on, and it's not going to change anytime soon. So if you can qualify for one of those, if you're on the EVGA queue or decide to get it from any other company that actually provides you a competitive, realistic price, go ahead and get it. But performance-wise, if you have the RTX 2070, just stick with it. Fitting, fits. Powering, no problem. 400 watts, 360 watts, works without any issues. So that's it. That's the answer to the question. You see the results. This card specifically, it's pretty good. I like it. It's fairly quiet, it's fairly cool, boosts up a little bit, gets the FPS where we're expecting them to be. I mean, I was not expecting to get blown away by the performance, but in the future there'll be more RT based games coming out, so 3060 definitely provides a little bit better RT performance compared to some of the older generations in RTX 2070. But if you don't care about that, if only rasterization is your target, 2070 is still fine. Long story short, they fit, they get powered, they work with no issues, and that's about it. Hit the thumbs up if you like the video, stay tuned to the channel, subscribe if you're new, hit that bell notification to get notified on every future video coming your way. Very soon, I'm gonna have a couple of other new, very interesting laptops that are already on the channel here and I'm testing. You guys are gonna love these. And of course, as always, we're gonna do more and more testing with the pre-builds. But I promised you that I'm gonna do a lot of game tests and comparison between all the graphics cards in all these pre-builds, so you can make a better decision what to get right now, because this is the only option. To get any graphics card at MSRP or close to it, you have to buy a pre-build. Till next time, guys, you have a wonderful day.